Well, hello everybody and welcome to my channel. Truly appreciate you being here and welcome to the first ever ranking of John Lennon's albums. Yes, folks, I've been in the vinyl community, Beatles community, music community here on YouTube now going on 3.5 years. Can you believe it? And I've never done a dedicated video to ranking John's albums. How's that? Anyway, so what I thought I would do is, folks, is I wanted to give John something special. And I should be standing here in a perfect world, and I'm not going to get into this too much. I don't want it to be a downer. In a perfect world, I'd have at least 20 albums here to go through with you. I really wish I did. Unfortunately, we don't. And I wanted to give John a good even number, so I've selected 10 albums. Yes, I jacked 2 more in there, projected 2 more in there, and you'll see what they are. And they're not live albums, but yet I feel they fit into this little ranking today, and it gives John a nice even 10 that we can go by. And then maybe you can use the same 10 and tell me how you would rank them or what you think of my selections, okay? So without further ado, Mr. Lennon, I'm going to rank your albums, and here we go. And again, folks, let me stress, this is just Matt Street's personal taste, personal likes. Doesn't mean that, it's technically the best album, or this is technically better than that one, because there might be a couple that I rank down a little bit that you think should be higher. This is my emotional picks, the picks that really mean the most to me. They're in the order I think they should be in. Okay, so without further ado, let's go to number 10. It's from 1972, and it's called Sometime in New York City. Oh, and let me say this. As I show these albums, and this being number 10, there is not one of these 10 albums that I dislike, folks. Okay? There are no clunkers here. There's no album that I would, give a bad rating to or say it's terrible. No. So don't look at the bottom 5 here as being like, oh, Matt doesn't like those 5 or those bottom 3. No, not like that at all. I enjoy every John Lennon album, and I listen to them on a regular basis. Okay? So let's get that right off the top. We may have different feelings as far as the rankings, but I love all 10 that I'm about to show you. All right, so number 10, there has to be a number 10, and it's Sometime in New York City. This is a really transitional album for John. He went from a very commercial, popular album just prior to this to an album that's considered his probably most political, his most controversial, but yet there's still a lot of great material on here. You got John with Yoko, you have the always reliable Jim Keltner on drums, you have the Elephant's Memory Band here backing John and Yoko, 2 LP set, one of them being a regular album, one being the live jam, but there's stuff on here, folks, that everybody can enjoy. I mean, Woman is the N-word of the world. I've always loved Sisters, Oh Sisters. New York City, one of John's best rockers ever. Luck of the Irish, John Sinclair. There's good stuff on here, folks. Is there some clunker stuff on here? Yes, there is. The live jam is kind of hit and miss. I like Cold Turkey. I like Well, Baby Please Don't Go. But, it's hit and miss, this album. There is some misses. But overall, there's some good stuff on here if you really hunt and search and listen. And I do enjoy this album on occasion. Number 10. Number 9 is a posthumous release for John. And I didn't even indicate what year it came out. I think it came out about 20 years ago or so. But I want to give John an even 10, so I'm including John Lennon Acoustic. John Lennon Acoustic. I really like this album, folks. Remember when the John Lennon anthology came out, that big box set? Well, when I heard a lot of the material on that album, that box set, I fell in love with it, especially the acoustic stuff. And that's what really turned me on to, John Lennon just sitting with his acoustic guitar and playing his songs from the heart and from his soul. So that was my initiation to those types of songs. So then when this came out, I jumped all over it. I love this album, folks. I just think it's great. The versions of Love on here and Look at Me and Watching the Wheels, Real Love is on here. Just great stuff, folks. Great, great material. My number 9. My number 8 is another posthumous release from John. Came out in 1986. It's called Menlove Avenue. Menlove Avenue. I really appreciate Yoko putting this out, folks. She took some tracks that were left off of the rock and roll album. Great stuff like Here We Go Again, Angel Baby. Then there's some great alternate versions from Walls and Bridges on here. Rock and Roll People is on here. I mean, it's just a fine album, a great release for songs that many of us had not heard up to this point. So I think it deserves to be on the list. Number 8. My number 7 John Lennon album is an album I've always loved. A lot of people put this album down and they don't really like the way it's recorded, the way it's produced. But you know what? It takes me back to 1975 when I was like 13 going on 14 or something like that. You know, just getting ready to go from like 8th grade into 9th grade in high school. So this album has a lot of fine memories for me, folks. And I do love the versions on here. I have to admit, it's rock and roll, 1975. My number 7, Bebop-A-Lula, great. Stand By Me, classic. Slippin' and a Slidin' is one I always loved from when it first came out as a kid. Peggy Sue, the great Buddy Holly he covers here. Just a great, great album, folks. I love it. Number 7. Number 6 is another posthumous John Lennon release, and it's Milk and Honey from 1984. Folks, the potential, that's all I'll say. I don't want to make this a downer video. I want it to be positive. Great songs on here from John. I know they're kind of demos and rough versions, but you can see the potential of what these songs would have become. And you know what? They're fine as they are. I love them. When this album came out, I was so happy that Yoko gave us this gift of more material from John from those sessions in 1980. Yoko stuff is okay on here. I won't say it's the greatest. I like her stuff on an upcoming album better, but it's okay. But John's stuff is great. A great batch of John songs are here. I'm Stepping Out is wonderful. Nobody Told Me. Borrowed Time. Grow Old With Me is a classic. I'm sorry. I had it played at my wedding a year after this album came out. I got married in 1985. Grow Old With Me was played at my wedding, and I am happy and proud that it was. Milk and Honey, my number 6. My number 5 has always been a real fun John Lennon release for me. It's a kind of a commercial pop album, but you know what? I really like it. Mind Games from 1973 is my number 5. Fun, commercial, yes. It's pop, a little bit of rock and roll, but it's a great album all around, folks. Classics are on here. Classic songs like Mind Games. I love Tight As. I love Asimusen. Did I say that right? I'm sorry. Yes, I love that song. Intuition is one of my favorite John Lennon pop songs of all time. Out of the Blue is a classic. Meat City is a cool little rocker. I just have always loved this album. I think it's a great little album, and it's rounding out those first 5. Number 5, Mind Games. All right, folks, we're going into the final 4 here. Final 4. Here we go. Number 4. And I'm showing this version because I love it. Double Fantasy is my number 4 album. And with the stripped version, I love it even more, folks. I love both versions. I love the regular version, and stripped just knocked it. Stripped probably brought it up another notch or so for me on my list. I love it. As we know, it was John's comeback album from 1980. I'm not going to make this a downer. I'm going to be positive. After 5 years, he went back in the studio after his wonderful summer in Bermuda. Had such a big influence on him. And so much to look forward to after this album, because I know some people think it's a little bit of kind of light rock and mellow and adult orientated type music. But you know what? We have to think of where John was going, where his head was at the time. And I think this was a fine release for John at that moment in his life. And Yoko's songs are pretty good on here. I like her material on here. It's probably my favorite Yoko Ono material is on Double Fantasy. And look at the classics. Do I need to even list them all? But you know them all, and I love them. Just Like Starting Over is a classic. I'm Losing You is a classic. Woman, Watching the Wheels. Beautiful Boy, Darling Boy has to be one of the greatest love songs from a parent to a child ever written. It's just fabulous. Fabulous music. So excited and so happy when John was back in the studio making this. And, well, all we can think about is the potential, but wow, I love this album. It's my number 4 and it deserves to be there. All right, some people might be surprised by my number 3, but I'm not because this is where I think it should go. I love it. It's a classic. It's great. But my number 3 is Imagine, okay? 1971. Yes, it's classic. It's most folks' number 1 album. It's most people's go-to album for John. And I love it. I go to this album all the time. He's working with George on here. Klaus Vorman's on here. Alan White. Great people backing him. The songs are classic. You know, the title track, obviously. You got Crippled Inside, Jealous Guy. It's So Hard is a great rock and roller. Give Me Some Truth, rock and roll. Oh My Love is one of the best ballads John or any solo Beatle ever did, in my humble opinion. The song How is beautiful. I even like Oh Yoko. You know, Oh Yoko. It's just a fun, rollicking song. Love it, love it, love it. This is a great album. It's my number 3, Imagine. My number 2, top 2, folks. John Lennon, Plastic Ono Band. My number 2 album. 1970, his first real solo album. I don't count those first 3 as much. So this is the first real solo John Lennon album. Classic rock album, folks. You have to admit, it's emotional. It's raw. It's John at his best, you know, when it comes to lyrics and being so open and honest. But it's fabulous. It's just fabulous. Well put together, raw rockin' album. Mother, Hold On is so tender and beautiful. I Found Out rocks hard. Working Class Hero, a classic. Isolation, Remember. Love is one of the most beautiful songs he ever wrote. Well, Well, Well is a great rocker. Look at Me is so tender and wonderful. God is a classic song everyone knows and loves. It's just a great, great John Lennon album. I love it. Number 2. And number 1, I had to go with my heart, folks. Have to go with my heart and soul on this. The Memories. Wow, 1974. Whew. I'm 12, going on 13 when this album came out, and it hit me hard, folks. It hit me so hard. I loved it, loved it, loved it on first listen. Walls and Bridges is my, Matt Street's, number 1 John Lennon album. Oh my goodness. His most realized album, in my opinion, because it's got rock and roll on it. It's got pop. It's got the ballads. It's got the great melodies. It's got the fabulous lyrics. Everything. Take everything from all his other albums. Put it all right here in this blender. This is it right here. It has it all, folks. Everything. Great, great stuff here. He had a number 1 song, big hit with Whatever Gets You Through the Night. That was the song that really turned me on to this album when I was a kid. I heard that song, him and Elton, on the radio, and I said, John he's the man. He is the man. Yes, he is. And I said, this album, this is it. And when I was a kid, those feelings are coming back to me about this album, how much I loved it so much. Number 1 song. Number 9, Dream, another big hit. So many wonderful songs on here. Old Dirt Road, Bless You, Scared, Surprise, Surprise, Stealing Glass. What more can I say about it, folks? I don't want this video to be too long. I could stand here and tell you how much I love this album all day, how much I love all of John's albums. But this has to be my number 1. The emotional pick, memories, nostalgia, whatever. I love it. It's my number 1. So I'd love to hear what you all think about your John Lennon favorites, what you all think about his albums. Mr. Lennon, thank you. Thank you for all your beautiful music, wonderful music. Thank you for being here, folks. Let me get this right. Never will be the same, right? Nobody will ever be the same as this man right here. He's a legend. We love him. Thank you, John. Thank you for watching, everybody, and checking out my John Lennon list. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care. Bless you. Bye-bye.